Halloween 2018, not to be confused with John Carpenter's Halloween of 1978 or even Rob Zombie's Halloween of 2007, Michael Myers would go almost a full 10 years without a new movie being released thanks to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 being a financial and critical bomb. But just like in his films, even a financial and critical bomb will not be enough to keep him down. The white mask shape would be revived once again, and with every revival of Michael Myers, the key is to do something wildly different. We already did a reboot that started from scratch and created a new origin for Michael, so that was out of the table. We had a semi-reboot with Halloween H2O, making it a direct sequel with Halloween 2. So should they just make another continuous sequel focusing more on the family with Michael Myers? No, because in this modern era, Blumhouse Studios was currently killing it with releases of horror films, banding together with director David Gordon Green and comedian Danny McBride. They put an idea together that would land them a 3-picture deal with producer Malik Akkad to make another Halloween film as a direct sequel to the original John Carpenter movie. The biggest key difference here is completely eliminating the whole family motivation that Michael has had since 1981. One could argue the essence of what has gotten people to grown up loving this character is now gone and forced to go back to his original motive of killing at random for no reason. So how do I feel about the latest timeline that Michael Myers is in? Well, let's just go ahead and hit play on Halloween 2018. So with the opening of Halloween 2018, we are set in the location of Smith's Grove, the mental institution that Michael had been held in before he escaped in the original 1978 movie. Here we're following a couple of true crime podcasters doing a story on Michael Myers. Why? Because it's the modern era, bitches. We ain't gonna do no TV reporters or newspaper journalists. We got podcasters in 2018. Here they're escorted by Michael Myers' current psychologist, Dr. Sartain. We find out that he's actually one of the students of Dr. Loomis, and once Dr. Loomis passed away, he was first in line to want to be the next psychologist of Michael Myers, as he had studied all his files and was fascinated by him. We see the podcasters finally meet up with Michael Myers in the courtyard where they're chained to a brick. That must be some real fun playground time. No wonder this guy's still a psychopath. And the boy a PlayStation or something. I bet he'd love Grand Theft Auto. But as these podcasters are trying to encounter and get a response out of Michael, we find out that thanks to a friend that he has in the Attorney General's office, they were able to get their hands on the original Halloween mask that Michael wore the night of the babysitter murders back in 1978. Pretty crazy that they would just hand off a piece of murder evidence to these podcasters. But now with the infamous mask being closer to Michael than it's ever been in 40 years, the bad juju in this area starts going wild.
Say something!
I don't know about you, but I get absolute chills from that opening right there, especially because we finally go back to some awesome opening credits. I love this reverse shot of the rotting pumpkin going back to normal. It's almost like symbolizing a dead franchise being brought back to life when people never thought we'd return to this timeline. Because usually when you do a reboot of something, it means you're never going back to that original world. But the impossible happened and we did end up here. From here, we follow the podcasters who are off to interview the next person on their list, Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode. Now, this was the confusing part about Halloween 2018 for me on why they decided to bring back Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode to the franchise if they wanted to eliminate the whole brother lineage. It almost seems counterproductive to bring her back if she's gonna have no connection to Michael whatsoever. But in this interview, we find out what's been happening in the past 40 years, and we hear
2 failed marriages, rocky relationship with your daughter and granddaughter.
And I'm a basket case.
establishing that in this new timeline, Laurie Strode never gave birth to John from Halloween H2O or even Jamie, played by Danielle Harris. As far as we know right now, out of one of her marriages, she ended up having a kid named Karen, who eventually goes off to have a kid of her own, Allison, setting up 3 generations of Strodes. But man, part of me is hoping that in her first failed marriage, she gave birth to little Jamie, and they could somehow introduce Danielle Harris back. I mean, hey, that's an open door. But back to why I'm not so huge on this version of Laurie Strode in Halloween 2018, it is because you eliminated the events of Halloween 2. I completely understand and respect wanting to get rid of the whole brother and sister lineage, even though I never had a problem with that. I just think it was bad however they tried handling some of the story plot points in future sequels. What I'm mainly upset about is that now you went from Michael becoming this unstoppable rebound killer that just kept chasing after Laurie twice in the same night, to now having a relationship with Michael and Laurie where Laurie really only faced off against Michael for about 20 to 30 minutes before the cops and Loomis stopped him. And those 20 and 30 minutes were her enough to completely ruin her life and turn her into this paranoid psychopath. They even mentioned in the movie that this version of Michael has been seriously nerfed whenever Allison is walking with her friends, which I may point out that one of them is drinking boba because modern era, bitches! Yeah, let me suck up them boba balls.
All things considered, there's a lot worse stuff that's happening today. I mean, what, a couple people getting killed by one guy with a knife is not that big of a deal.
It just feels extremely exaggerated, and why I think the version of Laurie from Halloween H2O is a much better example and mix of someone who was attacked by Michael, is of course paranoid of it happening again someday, but she continued to live her life and turn out semi-normal from one encounter with Michael. But even with me saying that and criticizing this version of Laurie, this line right here did win me over on this version of Laurie Strode.
If the way I raised your mother means that she hates me, but that she's prepared for the horrors of this world, then I can live with that.
Yeah, okay, I gotta hand it to you right there. But as the movie's continuing on, we get a little bit more backstory on our new heroine, Allison. We see she does have what first appears to be a great boyfriend, Cameron, and even a dorky little comedic relief friend named Oscar. Allison is currently going through a rough patch with her mother as she celebrates joining the Honor Society at a dinner, and is upset that her mother keeps lying about the fact that she invited her grandmother, but never once actually reached out to bring her here. We find out real quick though why it's never a good thing to invite Laurie Strode grandmother to the party.
Did it go great?
Yeah, it went really. It went. Hey, Mom.
That's mine.
Sorry, Mom.
You stop this.
I saw it. The shape.
But she has a semi-good reason for being on edge because tonight they'll be moving Michael Myers to another facility, and the last time he was moved around on a bus, the boy managed to escape. Now that Laurie's been kicked out of the dinner, Karen feels a little more confident to share with her daughter what her childhood was like. And yeah, this is just some of the stuff with Halloween that's a little goofy to me and feels like I'm watching a John Wick origin story. The state of Illinois seeing that as abuse and taking Karen away from Laurie. But hey, this right now is still way better than White Horses and Colts. We cut to a father and son who are currently on their way to go hunting, even though the son doesn't seem too thrilled about it.
I enjoy it, but I'm missing dance class for this, and sometimes I'd rather do that than hunting.
And why do we have a son that likes to dance? Oh, because it's the modern era, bitches. Can't be so mad, woke people. Footloose was a movie you liked, remember? But the father and son pairing come across the crash bus that Michael Myers was on, giving us real vibes of John Carpenter's Halloween when we also saw some patients roaming around. The father goes off to investigate, but it's not long after Footloose boy decides he needs to go look after his father himself, encountering Dr. Sartain in the bus and accidentally shooting him. Then runs back to his car, not wanting to be arrested for attempted murder, encounters Michael Myers, who surprisingly kills this little kid. That's how you know ruthless Michael Myers is back, when he don't care about age limits. Sorry, Footloose boy, but if I let you live, the woke boys will give my movie a bad review. We continue on the train of references as we follow the podcasters who are now visiting the grave of Judith Myers, while an escaped Michael Myers is off in the distance watching them. Michael, recognizing the pair and knowing that they have a piece of his property, decides to follow them to a gas station, feeling like another reference to the gas station in Halloween 4, stalking them down to get what is his. Now, this whole sequence, I really like. I like how in the background you can just see Michael walking about, even when the lady's asking for when the bathroom is, and you can see Michael killing someone off in the distance to get his mechanic's outfit, until he finally walks into the women's restroom to go after this podcaster. That, yes, is probably another callback to the bathroom scene in Halloween H2O, but in a timeline where they've erased all those events, I don't mind all these references and callbacks. I like how they add some familiarity to this Michael that almost tricks you into having a nostalgic feeling for this Michael. From here, Michael then decides to show off his new teeth collection that he brutally took away from this man, as he offs one by one these internet stars. I don't know what was scarier in this scene, the way Michael killed them, or just how they touched this dirty, slimy bathroom all around. Look, I don't care if I'm ever put in that situation, I'm never getting on my hands and feet on that dirty bathroom. Michael, just take me out now. Leading Michael to go to the trunk of their car, pull out his mask that he hasn't seen in 40 years, but even then, still fits. I don't know if it's my favorite mask, but I think it is so creative what they were able to do here, because this Michael is 61 years old. And even with the BS excuse they gave us of how these podcasters got the original mask, it's a good reason to have this weathered down, wrinkled up to where it looks like Old Man Michael, because this is Old Man Michael. Other than Nick Castle from the original Halloween, this is my favorite body shape actor to play the role of Michael. James Jude Courtney, to be exact. The dude really does. And I like how he has a belly, so he's kind of like me. But all hands on deck now, because it's not long for the town of Haddonfield to learn that Michael is out on the loose, causing Laurie to go look after her family because she knows what is coming next.
Gotcha!
Jesus.
You're dead.
It is kind of nice to have Laurie Strode have that I told you so moment, and that all her craziness didn't go completely to waste, as it'll come in handy in this movie. But even the way she acts towards Ray, the husband of Karen, is some of the stuff I just don't like about this version of Laurie. Why are you pointing a gun at your son-in-law? He's obviously not Michael. This ain't Halloween Resurrection. But as Laurie's preparing her family for safety, we cut to Officer Hawkins, who finds the leftover bodies at the gas station, informing us a little bit of how Michael was captured the night he got shot, but mysteriously disappeared at the end of John Carpenter's Halloween. We hear eventually that the police department hunted him down and that Dr. Loomis was about to kill Michael until Officer Hawkins stopped that, kind of planting the seeds for some of the flashbacks we'll eventually see in Halloween Kills. Still though, the perfect storm seems to be complete, as it is now dark, Halloween night, a killer on the loose, Michael in his outfit, by far the peak of Halloween 2018, this long track shot of Michael doing what he does best. This right here is for all the Halloween purists who hated the whole brother and sister lineage connection with Michael, and now he's back to his pure evil self that kills anyone and anyone because he just feels like it. He has no motive, he's on no mission, he just knows he blends in with this Halloween crowd and is just gonna go door to door killing people until he gets caught again. I love this track shot. This was the original intention that John Carpenter had with the babysitter killer, and honestly, I could just watch an hour of a camera following Michael as he kills and stabs all his way through Haddonfield. But as Michael is working his way down the streets of Haddonfield, we see one house on this same street holding the characters of Vicky and Julian, aka Toenail Clip Boy.
Don't lie to me. That's against the rules. I'm telling my mom.
Well, I'm gonna tell your mom about your browser history.
You better not. If I had some other kind of babysitter, she'd be reading me a story. I wouldn't be up clipping my nasty ass toenails.
I see some Halloween fans being overly judgy of this particular sequence, and even little Julian himself, but I think this all works so well for me, and I love the comedy coming from this little kid. But even with that said, when Michael does finally appear in this house, that's where the sequence kind of lost me. The cliche thing of the girl slipping on her sock on the floor, then being killed off by Michael while the kid comedically runs away. Now I'm gonna go tell Jesus about your browser history. Until Officer Hawkins shows up to see the aftermath of the boyfriend pinned to the wall in the most realistic knife wall kill, because we can actually see the length of this knife, while Laurie is outside witnessing Michael for the very first time in 40 years. Even made more special when you realize it's Nick Castle under that mask, so this is the Michael she remembers from 40 years. But after Laurie is done shooing away the kids wearing the Halloween 3 Season of the Witch masks, she aims at Michael, actually landing a bullet on him. Still, he manages to walk that off as police officers now surround the house of Julian, while a now recovering Dr. Sartain gets to finally meet the famous Laurie Strode.
Laurie Strode. Oh, you're the new Loomis.
I'll be honest, I kind of hate that line where she says, "Oh, you're the new Loomis," because that doesn't feel natural in the movie. That feels like she's directly talking to the audience, and we all know that was there for the trailer. Laurie heads off now, continuing to make sure her family is safe as Officer Hawkins decides to take in Dr. Sartain, believing he's the man best suited to locate Michael as he's been looking after him for the past 40 years. This is the kind of stuff that gives Halloween 2018 a rewatchable factor to me. Just every line of dialogue and movement that Dr. Sartain makes until you ultimately know what he's going to do, but we'll get there in a sec. Because we have to cut back to Allison, who just found out that her boyfriend is cheating scum. Not only that, he's the type of dude that throws phones in nacho bowls? That was supposed to be for my Tostitos. And let's be real, I'm pretty sure your phone would still work if you threw it in nacho. Like, that's some thick stuff. Allison then deciding to leave the party with her friend Oscar, who kind of shows off his true intentions.
What the fuck?
This is where I kind of felt like the Danny McBride influence came into this movie, because this feels like a character that would come out of his comedies. I also like how it doesn't fall into the cliche that the nerd would end up getting the girl because, well, we're in the modern era, bitches! Nerds have to go masturbate like everyone else. And even more proof we're in the modern era, even nerds are not safe from the wrath of Michael Myers. As the movie gets a little creative with some motion sensor lights in an absolutely chilling encounter with Michael. Killing off Oscar as Allison now realizes everything her grandmother mentioned about Michael is real and she needs to get the hell out of there. Lucky the neighbors of Haddonfield are much more friendly this time around, taking shelter with Allison until Officer Hawkins arrives to pick her up as they drive through the streets of Haddonfield trying to locate Michael until, oh my god, don't let this be another Ben Tramer situation, move! Thankfully it wasn't, this actually being Michael Myers, Officer Hawkins knowing exactly what he needs to do to get rid of the evil shape until we get the most controversial part of Halloween 2018. When I saw this moment go down in the theater for the very first time, and even hearing the audience reaction around me, I knew in my head, fans are absolutely gonna hate this. But this is the reason why I love this movie. That's right, I like the Dr. Sartain twist. Look, you may call it lazy writing or a dumb excuse to kind of bring things together plot-wise here, but I feel like given the lore and everything we've known about Michael from all his movies, even though they've erased some timelines, this fits perfectly in line with the world they've set up and the cause and effect you have for meeting Michael Myers. Every timeline that has ever been established with Michael, we eventually get characters that end up being so corrupted and tainted from coming in contact with evil because, like everyone says, this man is the essence of evil. And when you come in contact with pure evil, eventually that's gonna rub off on you one way or another. We see the effects of that on Laurie Strode, and it's the reason why it made me feel a lot better about this version, because even though she only encountered Michael for a few minutes, Loomis let us know with his many speeches in that first Halloween movie, the blackest eyes and pure evil turned Laurie into this paranoid armored freak. And that was just her with him for one night. This man literally spent 40 years staring into those eyes, studying every little thing about Michael until eventually it just consumed him to the point that he was curious to figure out why Michael was this way, so much so that he was willing to create his escape. As we find out, he's the one who sabotaged the bus, set Michael loose because he wanted a little taste of what Dr. Loomis saw the night of 1978. I will endlessly defend this scene and twist because I think this is a key factor about Michael Myers that I think is even going to be explored further in Halloween Kills, as we see so many other returning characters that encountered Michael for a few minutes in the previous movie, but how that small encounter has affected their lives so badly that they want to kill him in this next movie. So there's nothing you can say or show me that'll make me hate this. Okay, maybe you can show me that and I hate that. Admittedly, that was a very stupid shot for Dr. Sartain to show up with the mask. I'll slightly forgive it because he doesn't wear it for long and he's just trying to get a little taste of what Michael feels when he kills. Still can't help but think it looks goofy. But Dr. Sartain doesn't just want to kill people. His ultimate goal is to study Michael, and what better way to do it than to see how he would react to encountering Laurie Strode once again 40 years later. Driving Allison and Michael to the safe house that Laurie has set up where two bumbling cops are having a conversation about some sandwiches. Seems completely weird, but I do like this form of comedy and it doesn't bug me. Allison, though, now understanding the crazy man that Dr. Sartain is, feels like she can bait him with saying that she has heard Michael speak and was willing to tell him what he said if she lets him go. Another thing that completely works for me because I do believe Dr. Sartain, being this crazy and obsessed with Michael, would want to know. But before Allison can even get her way, we have Michael reawakening, putting his mask back on, sandwiching Dr. Sartain to the steering wheel as he gets out of the car. Allison escaping while pulling Dr. Sartain out of the vehicle, and then, is it, can it be? It's red lights! Whoa, this is a damn good Halloween movie. Michael, now having gotten rid of Dr. Sartain, decides to also get rid of the muscle around the house. The two sandwich cops carving one of them into a pumpkin. Best off-screen kill in the movie, followed by what probably is the lamest and sort of saddest kill in this film. Allison's father, Ray, who I actually was really hoping would make it out of this movie, but instead it gets choked out by Michael Myers. Here, Laurie hears some ruckus happening outside her house, tells Karen to go hide in the basement as her 40-year rematch begins with Michael Myers.
This is when Laurie knew she fucked up.
Laurie does manage to get the upper hand by shooting Michael, blowing off a couple of his kitchen knife fingers as she starts to hunt him down throughout the house while calling back to some references from the first film, and also securely locking away each room as she sees that Michael is not in. I will say the sequence when she's in the room filled with the mannequins covered in blood, obviously from Michael's hand, was a real tensed up moment because I had no idea where Michael was. Michael, however, finally feeling it's time for him to pop out, begins fighting Laurie, and although it's not the same great rematch we we had in Halloween H2O, it's still one I enjoy because I'll never get tired of seeing Jamie Lee Curtis try to put up a fight against Michael. She still, however, ends up getting stabbed and thrown out the window, a callback to how Michael was thrown out the window in the original movie. But Michael, thinking that Laurie's out of the picture for now, decides to finally use his strength to get to the basement, playing it smart, knowing that Karen has a gun and waiting for the right time to spring up. And I love that move that Karen pulled off.
I can't do it! I'm sorry, I can't do it! Gotcha.
It's those kinds of payoffs that make all the weird flashback John Wick origin story stuff worth it. Because while I think it was silly to actually show us those scenes where I would have been fine with them just saying that was her childhood, when this happens at the end of the film and you see that Karen is actually able to fight for herself and that she's not just another cliched girl who will run away, but actually is willing to fight back Michael, is so refreshing and exactly what the franchise needed. The 3 generations of Strode have managed to capture the beast and will end him for good as they start to put the safe house on fire, while Michael not even looking to be fazed at all and staring directly into the eyes of Laurie, who I love, that doesn't even want to leave the house. You can see that Karen and Allison are pulling Laurie like, yo, we gotta get the hell out of here, everything's about to go barbecue. But Laurie is so determined to see Michael die with her own eyes, she's willing to be burnt alive just to see it happen. Still, they convince Laurie escaping the house while it's burning up, meeting up with a random driver on the road, hitching a ride with them, cutting back to each room of the house going on fire, even a shot of the basement where Michael is completely missing, cutting back to the Strode family as we zoom in on the knife Allison has in her hand, not signifying that she'll be the next killer, but that the trauma and torture that Michael Myers left on Laurie is now passed on to the next generation. Halloween 2018 might have relied a lot on references and nostalgic callbacks to kind of win over fans of the franchise, with a couple of flaws here and there and a controversial twist, but I am willing to say that Blumhouse, David Gordon Green, and everyone involved with Halloween 2018 managed to knock it out of the park with recapturing the magic that made Michael Myers so infamous and mysterious, putting that all back into the character while telling a story I'm excited to see continue on and how it'll finish off with the next 2 sequels. As much as I love Halloween 2 from 1981 as it stands right now, out of all the timelines that exist, this right now is my favorite of them, and I just really hope they can nail the landing with Halloween Kills. But I want to hear from you guys. I know there's a lot of diehard fans that actually don't like the 2018 version and prefer some of the other timelines. I'd love to hear from you guys, and also from the people that do like this new incarnation of Michael. And also just quickly, thank you to every single one of you who watched all of these Halloween review videos I did. They were so time consuming and hard to make, but you guys all made it worth it. So to everybody who watched all of them or even one of these videos, you made my Halloween, man. Thank you. I appreciate your faces, and don't be forgetting, it's October, so go spook your mama.